my employer wanted to do me a favor so that I could focus on getting better. And, they let me go. In their mind, they really thought that was helping me. And it was, because I wasn't having, push myself to go to work. I could relax and all that stuff. But when the time came for the bills to get paid, that's when it, like, the reality hit. When I needed financial assistance and asked for support, that's when I found out that the money that they raised didn't exactly go towards helping in the way that I needed help, which for me, that was a shocker, because I was like, you guys raise millions and it goes where? To just research and awareness. I am not against research at all, because I know without it, I would not be here.
100%.
I just understand that research is to find something that's going to support people that are in the future, not for the people that are actually battling cancer in the moment. And that's what I didn't understand, but I got the answer. And I went on a journey, reached out to the American Cancer Society, to Live Strong, to all the different cancer organizations that I could find. And none of them offered the type of support that I needed. And it just didn't make sense. And I was like, okay, now I got to apply for welfare. I'm like, oh man, I'm college educated and I'm going to get on public assistance because I can't find things. I got turned down because I hadn't been unemployed long enough. You couldn't have told me that just because I couldn't find someone to help me pay the bills the way I needed help, that I would end up creating something that would change the world of cancer. And I knew this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
You are a real life superhero, Mary. And I know you're not here. You didn't join the show today to get the gold stars or get the name, in the spotlight. You're here to help people out. Hey guys, our guest today is the founder, president, and CEO of the COC, a nonprofit organization on mission to help cancer patients succeed on their road to recovery through awareness, emotional support, and financial relief. Inspired by the great adversity that she was facing while battling cancer, she created and designed the COC to provide the crucial resources to others that were simply not available to her during her battles. Welcome to the show, two-time breast cancer survivor, Mary Jenkins.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I love the introduction. It's beautiful.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited to have you officially on the show. We had the honor and privilege of talking a few times, and I just said, Mary, can we get you on the show? Can we make this happen? And a shout out to Luke, who introduced us, right?
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. Luke, thank you so much for that. And here's what we're going to do. My show is purpose-driven, right? We cover that topic a lot. Many of the guests on here are driven by an amazing purpose that's bigger than them. And in this case, that is totally your story as well, right? So there's not been a better person, in my opinion, to have on the show to share that, because this is something that's tied to your past. You've overcome and beat cancer twice, and you said, okay, that's already incredible. That's already inspiring. You said it doesn't end there. Can you share with us your walk and what happened in 2006 when you founded the COC?
Going back, it's been 15 years. So going back to 2006. Well, actually, it all started really in 2005 in December, when my youngest son and I were wrestling, because I'm a single parent. And we were wrestling and he accidentally elbowed me in the chest. And when he did, it hurt. And so I went to the emergency room and the ER doctor said he thought he felt something. He suggested I get a mammogram. I was 38 years old. And so they say, you get a mammogram starting at age 40. And so here I was 2 years, in advance, but I went and had this mammogram done. Long story short, we ended up they found a mass that was almost 5 centimeters. They did an ultrasound and they did the biopsy, and then they said, chances are it's going to be cancer. And of course it was. It was invasive ductal carcinoma, stage 3, almost stage 4, triple negative. So it was up there. And, I started going through the process. Immediately they wanted to remove my right breast. And I was like, I'm not exactly ready to let my girl go. So can I keep her for a little while? Is there something else we could do? And so we started with aggressive chemotherapy, and it made me sick. I mean, most people that do chemo, they get sick. But it made me it felt like extra sick because I was trying to go to work, and there were times when I'd be sick at the office, and there were times when my boss found me curled up in the bathroom on the floor.
Oh my
And it was
gosh.
like, oh my God, this is
Yeah.
crazy. And so my employer wanted to do me a favor so that I could focus on getting better. And, they let me go. In their minds, they really thought that was helping me. And it was, because I wasn't having, push myself to go to work. I could relax and all that
Yeah.
stuff. But when the time came for the bills to get paid,
Yeah.
that's when
I mean,
the reality hit.
mhm.
Because here I wasn't going to work. And when I was feeling better, I was volunteering with the Susan G. Komen Foundation, because that's breast cancer. So I figured, if I'm gonna be a breast cancer survivor, let me help the breast people.
Sure.
And so, I learned all about them, and everything was like, this is awesome. But when I needed financial assistance and asked for support, that's when I found out that the money that they raised didn't exactly go towards helping in the way that I needed help, which for
Right.
me, that was a shocker, because I was like, you guys raise millions and it goes where? To just research and awareness, but the people who actually have cancer, you don't help them.
Yeah.
It was hard for me. So
I think a lot of people that are tuning in may be surprised to hear that. I've been involved with many amazing organizations, LLS to name one, and just a great organization for blood cancer, right? Also MS. I've been involved helping that out, because it's near and dear to my heart, right? But you never you picture it, the person who's in the struggle, you picture helping them out. But in a sense it is, because it's big picture. It's a little bit longer term, right?
no,
It's
big picture research. And I have to always explain to people, I am not against research at all, because I
right.
know without it, I would not be here.
100%.
I just understand that research is to find something that's going to support people that are in the future,
Right.
not for the people that are actually battling cancer
Yeah.
in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't understand, but I got the answer. And I went on a journey, reached out to the American Cancer Society, to Live Strong, to all the different cancer organizations that I could find, and none of them offered the type of support that I needed. And it just didn't make sense. And I was like, okay, now I got to apply for welfare. Like, oh man, I'm college educated and I'm going to get on public assistance, because I can't find things. I got turned down because I hadn't been unemployed long enough, and it just didn't make any sense. So I found my way to my church, and I was venting, having a heated conversation with God. And, my pastor overheard me and was like, Mary Jenkins, what's going on? And I explained the situation, and my church offered to pay my bills for me the rest of the time that I was in treatment, which was an absolute blessing, because I was like, oh, that is great for me. But what about the other breast cancer patients that need help, and who's going to help them? Because somebody needs to let people know, where money does and doesn't go, and who it's helping and who it's not. Somebody's got to do something. We've got to find somebody. And my pastor was like, yeah, Mary, we got to find somebody. Mary.
Well, here's a mirror, Mary. Why don't you go stand in front of it and take a look?
Yes.
Come back to me.
It was
like,
like me?
Light
Not
bulb.
me.
The light bulb goes off. Yeah, just to finish what I was saying, though, I wanted to set that up, because I know there's a lot of people helping out, and again, research is incredibly important, and we support it, and every dollar is well spent. But we're just acknowledging that Mary is in this situation. She's like, I'm not alone here. Like, if I'm going through this, other people are going through this. The church was huge in helping her out, but she still felt like, this is great that I got helped out, but there's other people, the people that were sitting next to me in the hospital, like, how are we going to help them? I'm not alone, right? And so you started the COC. Can you tell us about the name, and how there's a name change, and what went into that? Please.
So the
share
original
that
name
story.
of the organization is Christians Overcoming Cancer. And the reason that we named it that is because I'm a Christian, and I was at my church, and together we were Christians Overcoming Cancer. It wasn't that a person had to be a Christian to get our services in any way, shape, or form, because we do not discriminate at all. Because I'm like, cancer doesn't care what race, gender, preference, orientation, income, that doesn't care about any of that, neither do we.
Right.
And so, but when I started the organization, I knew that it was what I wanted to do, but I still had missed the mark, because at the time we were providing services to cancer patients, because that's what I knew. Yeah. And when we were 4 months old, we got a referral of a woman who had cervical cancer. And I told her we couldn't help her because she had the wrong type of cancer, which, that sounds crazy when I say it.
No, it's an awakening moment of, wow, maybe we're too focused here.
I mean, it was like, what's the right type of cancer? Is there a right type of cancer? And so we changed our mission to include all cancer patients. And they started coming from all over Ohio and then all over the country. And then we started getting referrals from other countries. And we're like, wait a minute, what in the world have I created? And that was just an amazing, amazing time, because you couldn't have told me that just because I couldn't find someone to help me pay the bills the way I needed help, that I would end up creating something that would change the world of cancer. And I knew this was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life when I was at treatment, and there was a woman that was having treatment as well. So she was in her chair, and there was a man with her, and he was knelt down beside her, and he was crying. And so I looked at him like, that's just a little awkward. She wasn't crying, but he was crying. And so after they unhooked me from my chemo, I, went over to introduce myself, because I'm just that type of person. And, I said, are you guys okay? Because plus I've been in ministry forever. So, I'm compassionate.
You have that heart. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I asked them were they okay. And the gentleman explained that he had just told his wife that they weren't going to be able to go home. And what was going on was she would have a reaction after she finished chemo that made her really sick. And so they would stay overnight in a hotel. And the next day they would go home. But this particular time, he didn't have the money to pay for a hotel room. And they couldn't find anyone that would give them a room for free. So they were going to have to sleep. And he had just told her that. So
Did
that's
you say
why
in the car?
In the car.
In the car.
Yes. And so when he told me that, I was like, because I'm a crybaby. And I was like, it's okay. And I reached in my purse and I pulled out this stack of money. I don't even know how much I gave him. Because at that time, as I was telling people, about where money did and didn't go, people were like, well, can I make a donation to you? Sure, you can make a donation to me. My church is paying my bills, so I'll find someone else to give the money to. And that's what I was doing. But in that moment with that couple, I knew that this was going to be what I was doing for the rest of my life. I knew.
Yeah. You were called to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You are a real life superhero, Mary. And I know you're not here. You didn't join the show today to get the gold stars or get the name, in the spotlight. You're here to help people out. We had a little brief conversation previously to recording, and we said the mission for this is to inspire people to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams, but also raise awareness to what you're doing and then how we can actually connect and impact real people listening to this that are going through struggles. Doesn't have to be cancer, right, terminal, but it can be, and we're helping them out too. Remember, we're not being just just only helping one kind of person. I'm not only helping entrepreneurs. I'm not only helping athletes. I'm not only helping cancer survivors. We're helping anybody who's going through. It's not always adversity, but a lot of times that's where this show goes, because it shows people really kind of end up shining in the moments where they're up against the wall, and your heart is really one of your superpowers. It's who, and I'd say you have to look at it this way, that in some way this happened for you because Mary gets knocked down twice, and instead of staying down, she gets up and she helps out everybody else. Yeah. Unselfishly, right? So she's just an amazing person. So I wanted to make sure that I got that out, because I know you're not here to hear it. You don't need to hear it to do what you're doing. But man, take a deep breath and just appreciate what you built and the incredible people around you in the COC. And I've looked at it, and it's really great. You have a 5 Alive challenge. It's really cool too. Tell us more about that.
So last year, because of pandemic, our main way of fundraising stopped, because we do a lot of interaction with people. And because of the, stay-at-home orders, we weren't going to events, so we weren't raising money. And we had to create another way to still fundraise, because we are a donation-funded organization. So a millennial, my other son, Joseph, he was like, Mom, you have this thing called the 5, it was actually called the 5 Alive program. And he was like, what is that? And I was like, well, we're just inviting people to donate $5. And he's like, why don't you turn it into a challenge? And I said, I don't know how. And he's like, oh, Mom, I got you. And so with the 5 Alive challenge, it's easy. It's the easiest challenge out there. easy steps. Number one, you make a donation of $5 or more. Number two, you ask two people to do the same thing. And number three, you share. And I was like, that's so easy. Anybody could do it. He was like, exactly, Mom. And so we've been asking people to accept the Five Alive Challenge all over. They don't have to do it once. They can do it every month. They can do it, they can invite more than two people. I mean, it's just a matter of getting the word out, because I am crazy enough to believe that, imagine that there's 10,000 people that accept the Five Alive Challenge every month. That would be $50,000 that could go towards helping people pay their bills, to prevent the evictions and prevent the utilities getting cut off and prevent the car getting repossessed. And, and people have no idea just the magnitude of our scope. Because like when we tell people that St. Jude refers to us, they're like, St. Jude, like the St. Jude? I'm like, yeah, the St. Jude. And it's because they provide no cost treatment to the children that are battling cancer, which is amazing. Come from out of town. The parents stay at the Ronald McDonald House, which is also amazing. However, they realize that if the parents don't have help paying their bills at home, when treatment is over and they go home, they find evictions or utility disconnects or the car is gone, and they find out things, or they have to pay for travel back and forth, and they needed help, and that's something that the hospital doesn't cover. And so they tried, the hospital was looking for someone, and they found us. And so since 2014, we've helped people that are there, and it's just a blessing, because kids battle cancer too, and the stress that their parents are under is like, man, parents are choosing which parent is going to go to work and which is going to be with the child, or heaven forbid it's a single parent, and that parent still's got to work just to pay the bills. And so that's stuff that, let me not get myself emotional, because I will cry in a minute.
Well, again, I love the fact that you were creative in thinking there's these amazing programs that do exist, and we want to coexist with them and find the gaps, really the holes in what they do. And I think any smart entrepreneur, business person does that to grow their business, but also where it really works and connects is when it's connected to here in your heart. And everything you're talking about isn't just like, this is something that we can sell or offer that doesn't exist yet. That's great. But it's really, when we're talking about not only life and death, we're talking about financial hardships where people are they're already beat down by the fact that they themselves are going through cancer treatments and chemo, like you talked about, had you crippled on the ground. And you got the family who's trying to work overtime to pay for the bills, or the family member who's staying home to spend time, or the parents who take exit time off completely or quit their jobs to be with their child, or whatever it might be. Or the parent has cancer and the kids are trying to learn what's going on with mommy and daddy. I mean, I interviewed a woman who had oral cancer, and she had to break the news to her young children, right? I had another guy, Matty O.D., who, I don't know if you know him, but I'll connect you with Matt, who had testicular cancer, who's doing a great thing. And this is the stuff that this is why I do this podcast. I mean, it's not, monetizing it or whatever. I'm doing this to really help people like Mary get out there and do these incredible things. We're going to talk more about it. We're going to take a quick sponsorship timeout. We're going to be right back with Mary Jenkins. Podcasting is a great way to engage with your audience and stay consistently relevant. The only problem is you don't have the time or desire to produce your own show. You simply want it done for you, and that's where Social Chameleon comes in. All you need to do is press record and upload the files. We'll handle the rest. From planning, production, post-production, distribution, and digital marketing, we have you covered. We realize that times are tough and funds are tight, and Social Chameleon believes in building supportive business relationships. By clicking on the link in this promo, we'll provide you 7 free podcasting tips to get started, as well as a free 30-minute online consultation. This is the perfect opportunity for entrepreneurs, keynote speakers, industry experts, influencers, and anybody who has a personal brand. With Social Chameleon, we help you build a brand that is out of this world. We're ready and waiting, so what are you waiting for? Click on the link to get started today. All right, guys, we're back in action with Mary Jenkins from the COC. I want to make sure you guys know how you can help her out, how you can help out the organization and help people out that are going through these struggles. It's thecoccares.org. And it's just like you think, the COCCARES.org. If you want to donate, it's simply the COCcares.org/donate. And you can do that through Cash App, Venmo, and you can check out their social media channels. Very simple. It's all in the show notes and clickable. So you guys don't have to go on a goose chase to try to find Mary and the COC. It's all clickable in the show notes. And let's get right back to the action here. Mary, again, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you again for having me.
What I'm going to do now is actually read a testimonial. Because a lot of times when we're talking about this, we can think about the great organization and the things that are going on, but sometimes we separate ourselves from real life people going through this. And just to give an idea of how impactful this is, I'm going to actually read one of these testimonials. All right, Mary, if you want to get the box of tissues ready, okay, for both of us. But this is from Rich D. It says, while I was fighting prostate cancer, the COC came to my family's aid and helped us by paying our rent. I didn't think anyone could help us with the money needed. God bless this organization. They really do help. And then there's another one from Jay Fernandez. He writes in, thank you very much for your help with the payment of my electric bill. I was really worried about not being able to pay it because I'm recovering from a breast reconstruction surgery after a double mastectomy and having fought against stage 2 breast cancer. Thank you very much, and God bless you. I mean, these are real people that you are helping out, you know?
Yeah.
And I just wanted people to hear that from the voice of someone who's being directly helped by the COC. Guys, again, go to the COCcares.org/donate. Now we're going to go into another tough segment. We're going to talk about adversity. We already touched on it. The idea that a setback can become a superpower, right? It's a concept I've covered on the show many times. I want your personal take on that, you know, as far as how you feel called really to do what you do.
Well, I go back to my default. I'm in ministry. And there's a scripture in Revelation. It's Revelation 12:11 that says we overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And for me, that's all I'm really doing. I'm sharing my personal testimony, and it is helping other people to overcome. Because I believe that there are all kinds of people out there in the world, and they're just waiting to hear the stories of those of us who have them. And if we will just share our stories, our testimonies, it can impact the world. And that's literally what's happened. So I took my adverse situation of, battling cancer. And I like to say, from my pain, I birthed purpose. And, I get to say, being diagnosed with breast cancer for me is one of the best things that's happened to me since salvation. And I say that because there's so many people that I've had the opportunity to pray for, so many people that I've met, so many people that I've helped. And, it's like, and it's not just me, but it's the organization and the people that believe in our cause. Together, we have literally impacted the world of cancer. And so it's like we're all little superheroes together.
Yeah.
And, I just get to be the lead superhero.
Power of the people coming together. Absolutely. Really well said. That is so true. It's your test is your testimony, or you can make it. I mean, anyone who's going through something right now, think about this. If you're going through it and it's crushing you, man, your soul, your heart, you feel totally defeated, realize that now that you're going through that story, you can better help someone. You're more equipped. You're going to have more answers, right? And then if you get on purpose and you really feel like, oh my God, this information I have can help 2 people, and you're going through it, that's one person that has to go through it. But now if I tell someone my story, like you just said, and you open up, you start to help people out. Now that's 2 people impacted in a good way, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. And I do believe that whether people listening in believe in God or don't believe in God, I personally do, in the universe and how it's all connected. But I feel like he certainly calls, there's a quote in the Bible, I forget exactly what it is, but he calls the helpers. Do you know the quote I'm talking about? Or God equips the helpers or something like that. Or he equips the equipped or something. My point in what I'm trying to spit out, folks, is the fact that Mary's a prime example of this. She was the one who was equipped to be able to help more people.
Yeah. We all are that way, though. Then that's the thing.
Right.
Every single one of us are that way. Because in the scriptures it says before God knew us before we were in our mother's womb. So he already had a perfect plan for us. We just get to live out the plan. And then whatever that plan is, whatever happens to us, I am a firm believer in Romans 8:28, which says that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I am a firm believer, and you don't have to, don't have to believe in God, but I just believe that there's something good that can come out of every single situation. May not be able to see it in the moment, though.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I get, when a person gets incarcerated, they can't see it, but they made it through, and they went to school, they got college, got degrees, got out, and their lives were changed. They didn't see it while they were going through, but it was still something good. The situation may not be good, but there's something good. There's a lesson to learn. There's a lesson in life.
The situation's happening regardless. If someone gets cancer in the moment, they're not able to turn that around and change it. They can eat better. I've heard some really incredible stories about people getting right holistically and all kinds of cool stuff. And guys, go do your research. What I'm trying to say is, in a moment's time, the thing you can change is your mentality and your mindset. We control this. As much as we get beaten down, the strongest people that persevere have this willpower that cannot be broken because they know there's some good that can come out of the situation. Exactly. I mean, I lost my father during COVID. I mean, there's no words to express how I felt. He was completely robbed at 69 years old from it. And I still don't believe I've totally come to terms with that. To be honest, it was December. We're recording this in May. The fact I'm even able to talk about it, I think there's some distancing I did in my head and in my spirit and my soul. But I'm telling you is,
my best friend just passed away April 20th.
Yeah, COVID, we got a story we could tell about that. And my point in telling that is, I know that I'm not able to get my father back, but the thing I can control is how I can honor him and doing good for my daughter, taking care of my mom, right? His wife of over 40 years, and just doing these little things daily to make him proud. That's what I can control. So the inspiration is coming out of this horrible situation that I know on the large scale I cannot change that outcome. I can control my mentality. And there's a lot of people listening to this that may have lost a family member due to COVID, and feels like they were robbed, right? I mean, you had a friend, right, that you went to go visit. Is that true? You were able to go see her right before. Do you want to share the story? You don't have to. I know it's deep, but is there something we can learn from that, you think, that you'd like to share?
Definitely mind shifting, because in my case, in March, my godmother passed away, and her funeral was March 31st. And so my godmother passed away March 20th, had the funeral March 31st. Someone came from out of town to that funeral and unfortunately didn't know they had COVID, and they stayed at my best friend's house. And after that person left, my best friend got sick. So this was at the beginning of April. She ended up in the hospital on April the 7th, was there from the 7th through the 10th, was sent home to quarantine. While she was at home, she started having some other physical stuff going on. I made the recommendation she go back to the hospital. She went back to the hospital, was there for 3 days, and then was put on a ventilator on the 15th of April. And she passed away the morning of the 20th of April. And fortunately, the hospital allowed, us to go in to be able to say our goodbyes. And I was able to hold her hand while she took her last breath. And so the thing I said was like, wow, I truly was a true friend until she took her last breath. But then it didn't even stop there, because I was like, I need to make certain that we honor her memory. And so I was able to support the family while we prepared for her funeral. And then her funeral was April 30th. And so it's just been real. And I was like, man, my whole month of April is a blur, because it was totally dealing with COVID.
Loss.
But it's like, okay, now we're in May. And at first I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. This is just hard. It's just emotionally hard. I literally said that my heart was broken, my soul was crushed, and I didn't know if I would be able to continue. And in one moment, I literally had gotten some great prayer time, and I was like, okay, God, it's not my will, but your will be done. There's still somebody out there that's battling cancer that needs to know that there's someone out there that cares, someone out there that's raising money to help them pay their bills. And literally the mind shift happened immediately. And it was like, I had the prayer on Saturday. On Sunday, I did a fundraiser.
You got right back to your purpose,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what I want to tell everybody. Thank you for sharing that story. I'm so sorry for the loss of your godmother, your friend.
Thank you.
Unbelievable. 2020 really was just shattering in so many ways. Businesses shut down, people losing their lives, losing family members.
My dad passed in 2020 in October, and it was like, it's like I tested positive for COVID, and then the next day my brother ended up in the hospital having the lower part of his leg amputated, and then the next day my dad dies, and it was like, really? Whoa. And this was in 2020, and then I'm thinking, we're in 2021 now.
We all need T-shirts that say "We survived 2020." That's for sure. I got this gray piece of hair right here. And I'm calling that the patch. That's the I Survived 2020
I've got one too.
Yeah. Wear it with pride and honor. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that about your father and your brother with his leg. And then oh my God, man.
Oh, but he's on a mission now because he's like, there need to be more services available for people that are amputees. And I'm like,
sure.
It runs in the family.
Yeah. I was just introduced to someone who does the prosthetic legs and fits people for more comfort, and it looks like they may be a guest on the show because I feel like that's a whole nother avenue of people that need some education.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
People need it, and it's not only people in that situation that can learn and grow from that conversation we're going to have, right? It's other people that can learn from his story. So, guys, you think was this heavy enough for you yet? That we still got 15 minutes left. Unfortunately, the story still has some more depth to it. And when Mary, actually her husband was 23 years old. He was 23 years old. He passed away in active duty. So I just want to give him his moment of honor and thank you for his service. But 23 years old, you guys were newlyweds, right?
Yeah, we had been married for 2 months and 29 days.
2 months.
He died May 20th of 1987.
Can you talk to anyone in the audience that may be just grieving a loss, especially someone younger too? We grieve loss for anybody. They could be 99 years old. We're going to grieve their loss, right?
Yeah.
But a 23-year-old spouse of a couple months, or a young child, and there's no words and explanation of how we can even fathom it. Can you tell us how to do your best to find peace through all that?
So I was 19. My husband died. And like I said, he was 23. We had just gotten married. And it was a shocker for me because it was like, wait a minute. I got married. I wanted the fairy tale. I wanted the 50 years. And, I got married so that I could have all of those joys. And then unexpectedly to have him pass away. And it was like, he was special forces and he was preparing to go to Honduras and was at work and doing a drown-proofing exercise when he collapsed and they were unable to revive him. That you couldn't have told me that I was going to be a 19-year-old widow. No. And so it's been 35 years now. It seems so long, and you never really get over it. You never really do get over it. I mean, I find myself, at this time of year, getting emotional because I remember. I can remember being pregnant and, waiting, hoping that he was going to be able to come back from his training. Because when they go out in the training, they had to stay out in the fields, and then eventually they'd come back. And here I was newly married, like, oh, well, he's done. He'll be back. He'll be back. He'll be back. And so we got married February 21st. And, we didn't get to have a honeymoon or anything like that because he had to go back. He went to the field. And then the next time that I saw him was in a casket. Yeah. Whew. And I was pregnant. And, it was like, what do you... Because the crazy thing is, prior to his dying, I had a dream. And in the dream, I saw him in a casket. Wow. And I reached out because I was like, either I'm crazy or some spooky stuff going on because I didn't grow up in church and I wasn't involved in
Sure.
all that.
Sure.
Um, I reached out all over the post trying to get a hold of him. And so finally he called me back and he was like, "What's going on? Everyone's saying that you're calling. Are you okay? Is the baby okay?" And I was like, "Yes, we're fine. I just want you to know that I had this crazy dream. And in the dream, I saw you in a casket." And that's when he told me that his unit had gotten called up. And the reason he hadn't been able to come back is because he was training to be deployed. And I was like, okay.
No way.
And then
Yeah.
he said, but what he did do, he said, I came back in to sign the paperwork to make sure you got an ID card. And I updated my life insurance. And I was like, okay. And he said, now, if something happens to me while I'm deployed, he said, promise me you'll finish high school. Promise me you'll go to college. And promise me you'll take care of Edwin, who's my oldest, and the baby, because we didn't know what I was having. And I said I would. And he said, and just make certain if you fall in love again, just make certain it'll be for a lifetime.
Ooh.
He said that to me on May 18th and on May 20th.
Oh my gosh. That is, I don't even know what that is there. That is something that you have to unpack.
So I finished
Wow.
high school.
Mary,
I went to
thank
college.
you for sharing that. Yeah, you did the things.
I did everything.
You held your promises.
Yep.
Yeah, that's incredible. Do you have a tight relationship with your son?
Oh yeah.
Edwin,
Oh, yeah.
is it? Yeah.
Edwin is the oldest, and Joseph is the middle one. So I was
Joseph.
pregnant with Joseph. But
Yeah.
so I'm really my whole family. We are very,
Yeah.
very, very close. Very close.
Yeah. Give a shout out to your kids. I mean, that's what we're.
Hey, children. Edwin. Well,
Yeah.
Edwin and his wife Candace, and my grandson Jude, who will be 3 this year, and then Joseph and my youngest one BJ. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And
are
they
the
have.
best.
They have great influence in Mama Bear, and that's awesome. That is awesome. Actually, it does lead into the next question, but I'm just like having a hard time getting through that last part there. But I want to say, you're an influence for your children, for the people in your organization. You're inspiring me every second of this conversation. Where did you get your inspiration and influence? Like you must have had some positive energy coming from a source. Is that true, or
Yeah.
what would you say? Let's
I
give the
say
love.
my mom and dad.
Mom and dad. Yeah.
I miss my mom and dad. My mom passed away in 2007. And right after my mom passed away, then my father came to live with me. And so he became my biggest fan. But when I was growing up, so, I was born on Christmas. So, so I was destined. The very first time, and I always remember this, that I was in the news. I was 5 years old. And we were living on my dad Force. We were on the Air Force Base, and they were doing a story about Christmas and the holiday, and we just happened to be in the mall. And of course, my mom was like, "My baby was born on Christmas," and so they interviewed me. And when they interviewed me, they wanted to know, what did I want for Christmas? And I didn't say I want the Barbie dolls, or I want this doll, I want roller skates. I didn't say any of that. I said I wanted world peace.
Whoa!
I wanted the world to get along. I wanted everyone to get along, and because my mom and dad would invite people over to the house for Christmas, and I'd like it if everybody would get along and come over to the house. And so I made it on the front page of the paper when
That's
I was 5.
incredible. Yeah, you had it. You already had that. You had that in your heart. But I'm telling you, I mean that's a total honor to your parents by you being at 5 years old, having that mindset is something that was instilled through them, either directly or indirectly. Sometimes parents don't say, "All right, Mary, we're going to tell you that we want world peace," but they see kids pick up on conversations and just the way you carry yourself.
It was directly because that was during a time when people weren't exactly getting along, and my father was in the Air Force, and then by us being black, and my mom was mixed, and it was like there was no room for the racial stuff. We didn't. There was no room for that. We don't. Not at all. And my mom and dad used to always tell me, to know you is to love you. If you let people know who you are, they will absolutely love you. And so that has just been always in the back of my head all my life, was I allow people to know me, who I am, because I believe that to know me is to love me.
Wow. That is, I'm writing that down because vulnerability is so important. Another thing we do talk about a lot on the show. It's because, I feel like when you're vulnerable, when you do tell your story with someone, you open up to someone, then they can really love you fully. Because if you otherwise you got these like different barriers, and you're putting someone through a like a relay race of all kinds of obstacles to try to get to know your heart. But if when you're comfortable and able to do that, and you're like,
lead with your heart. It's like leading with your heart. I lead with my heart.
Yeah.
I want people to know who I am. I'm not ashamed to tell people, that I'm a cancer survivor. I'm not ashamed to tell people I was raped at 13 and it resulted in a pregnancy and I had an abortion. That I'm not ashamed to tell those things because all the experiences that I had shaped me to be the person that I am today. And so if I'm ashamed of any part of it, then it's like I'm ashamed of who I am.
Then how can you be real? Yeah.
I can't be authentic. Wow. And so, don't have any problem sharing with people about my cancer journey, that I don't have any breasts, because people are like, you don't have breasts? I'm like, no, I don't have breasts. They're prosthetics. And, and if, I'm like, you want to, because they feel almost real, and people are like, and I'm like, I'm sorry. You may not be comfortable. I'm comfortable.
Yeah. Well, you and having that comfort level with yourself is going to allow people to be more comfortable with you. Because if you were like, well, yeah, they're not real, and you're like real shy and stuff. And hey, I'm not telling everybody they have to be like Mary. Be like you. If you're listening to this, be yourself. But the fact that you're more comfortable and joking around about it, I think just allows people to get to be themselves with you.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So. Now, so you gave kudos to your parents, which I love to hear. Not everybody is fortunate enough to have that story, so that's incredible. Share your favorite moment and so far, because even though this started, when was it? 07 you started COC?
06.
06. So it's been a number of years now. And congratulations on the longevity of the organization. But
thank you.
What's been your favorite moment so far with the COC?
Gosh.
I know, right?
I would say when we helped a little girl named Lily. I'll never forget Lily. Okay. I mean, I get emotional. Lily has since passed away. But Lily was battling cancer. She's from Toledo, Ohio. She had a relapse, and she was life flighted from Toledo to Columbus, Ohio, to Children's Hospital. She went through the treatment, and then she was released. So when they life flighted her, it was her and her mother. They life flighted to Columbus. They didn't have a way to get home. So when they finished their treatment here in Columbus,
right,
they were like, "How are we going to get back to Toledo?"
On an island. How do I go? Okay.
Yeah. Because, and someone at the hospital was suggesting to them that Lily's grandmother could come. Grandmother was older, disabled, so when somebody reached out to me, I was like, what? They're gonna have Lily's grandmother, who's disabled, drive from Toledo to Columbus, which is like maybe 3 hours one way. She's sick. The woman's disabled. Okay, we get to find out a way. And so that enabled me to get in my creativity zone. I was like, how? This is before Uber. There was no Uber. There was no Lyft. Like, how in the world can we get Lily and her mom home? And so shout out to Yellow Cab, 614-444-4444. We reached out to them and explained the situation. And they agreed to have one of their drivers drive the little girl and her mom from Columbus to Toledo. They charged us $345, which was nothing in comparison to what it could have been. But that's like that. Like, you know what? We can do anything. We're the one.
Yeah.
We'll come up with the creative ways. If someone's car breaks down, we'll figure it out. Shout out to Vivian and Auto Plus that repairs so many cars for us. Because when people are going through treatment, sometimes the brakes go out, or sometimes the alternator goes out, starter, whatever.
Everything. I mean, there's so many different aspects of it. Yeah.
Don't know. And so it's like, there's just, I'm like,
What's the best way we can help you, Mary? So you have this beautiful organization. Obviously, like, donations are going to be welcomed. You're never going to right? Do the 5 challenge, $5.
5 Alive challenge.
Five Alive. So $5, guys. Plus you invite 2 people and you share it. It's that simple. I'm doing that immediately after this call myself. And so you could do 5 Alive, but how? Like, is there an area that maybe it's I
try to explain to people. Like people like to contact us and say, "Oh, we have clothes that we want to donate." We don't give clothes. We don't do that.
Okay.
There are restaurants that will be like, "Oh, we have food left over. We with your families." We don't do that. We're not a food pantry. We're not a consignment shop. We're not a food pantry. We raise money to pay bills. That is our thing. Yeah. And so for us, the best way to help us is to make a donation and to champion the cause and asking others to make a donation. So it's like really to join our army and have an army of people. So, it's like have a whole bunch of people, because I am a firm believer that I would rather have, $5 from 1,000 people than 5,000 from one person. And I say that because, if something happens and that one person can no longer give, now we have nothing. But if you've got 1,000 people giving $5, if one of them can't give the 5, you still have, $4,995.
There's a lot more energy there too of people that they can refer when they share it on their social. It's actually moving where you got one thing could be a pillar. Here you have the entire infrastructure of an army of people, always stronger than one, which is incredible. When you're not leading the COC and doing your million volunteer hours that you're putting in a week, right? That might be undercutting it. What can we find you doing for fun?
Well, outside of church, I'm always at church.
Yeah.
But when I'm not there, I actually enjoy quiet time. So I find myself just somewhere reading a book, whether it's Connect and Grow Rich, which is different than Think and Grow Rich, but it's a great book by a friend of mine, Rob Coates, and we're included in the book too. And so I read that book on a regular because there's so much in it. And then there's another book called Wealth Behind the Chair, which is it's for the barber and beauty industry. So many principles that are in it that anybody can read it. And so I read a lot of the non-traditional books. At one time before pandemic, I would go to the movies on Tuesdays, just to go to a movie. And so now I've started watching Netflix, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can watch Netflix. So it's, it's on my phone, but I can still watch, because I don't watch TV. I just don't.
Very rarely do I anymore anyways.
I was anti-movies because I was like, they're making millions of dollars and they're not making a donation to the organization.
Doing anything,
when the actors donate to the organization, I'll go see their movies. It's like, because I believe that there's somebody out there that just they just haven't heard of us yet. And that they will say, you know what, I'm going to write $1 million check to that organization just because what they're doing is so good. And I am a firm believer that is going to happen.
Yeah. Guys, again, I encourage you. I mean, look, if you have a larger amount you can donate, please do that. I mean, whatever you feel comfortable with. We're only asking for 5 because that's it. Let's start there. Now let's get the army of people doing the 5 Alive. Again, the coccares.org/donate. And the Cash App, Venmo, social media is all in the description down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you very much. It's clickable for you, and the same thing in any podcast app that you're tuning into this right now. You can check out those links as well. A couple more questions, and I'm going to let you get on with the rest of your day. One message to leave our audience inspired to be brave and bold in pursuit of their dreams. The mission of my show. What would that be?
Share your story. There's someone out there that is waiting to hear what you have to say. So use your voice.
Oh, so good. And you were just ready to throw that at me, too. I love it. This is it. Last thing. I don't have my official mug with me today, or as I record, but it always says, be great and be grateful on it. Gratitude is so important. To start the day and end the day in gratitude. I want anybody listening to this, if you're driving, when you get to where you're going, park, turn your phone off. Don't look at your phone for a minute and think of 3 things that you're most grateful for. So I'm asking everybody to do that assignment after this interview is over. But first, we're going to hear Mary tell her 3 things that you're most grateful for.
I am most grateful for the fact that I woke up this morning because there's someone that didn't. I am most grateful for the relationships that I have with others, both my family and my new friends, because there are people that don't have these types of relationships. And I believe that when you have healthy relationships, your whole life shines brighter. And the third thing that I am most grateful for are the people that step out of their comfort to support the organization because they don't have to. And I am forever grateful when they do.
Wow. This interview hit me like in the feels. Let me just say it. I mean, a lot of emotion and a lot of positivity though too. Let's make sure. I mean, this is heavy, but I feel like, man, there's people like Mary in the world, and there's a lot of people that are doing good. If you turn on the news, I don't care if it's Fox, CNN, or local, you're going to hear a lot of negativity, right? There's a lot of scare tactics and stuff going on. Another reason I do the show is to shine light on the good people, the good things going on. There is a lot of positive energy when you look for it. And this interview is one of the ways, selfishly, I'm going to say, as the interviewer, I get to learn from my guests every week and get inspired directly from them. So that's kind of, I'm your first audience member, right? Because I'm here and I'm listening and tuning in. And anyone else who's tuning in, I know, just got an amazing masterclass of heart. And I just challenge everybody. You all have it. Mary told you. She doesn't have this extra superpower. She just has heart, and she has desire to help other people. And I think if you actually get to the core of humanity, that's what we're here to do, is to help other people. So I just challenge anyone who's listening, think about how you, while you're blessed to have time and open your eyes, like Mary said, every day, first thing she's grateful for is the day, being able to wake up. So you're able to wake up, you're listening to this right now. What can you do to make this place better while you're on it? Because we don't know our end date, but we know today we can live today. We could put one foot in front of the other, or whatever that is. That's a hyperbole, right? But what can you do to leave this place better than you found it? Mary is doing her part. Mary Jenkins, thank you so much for your time today. This was incredible.
Thank you so much for having me. It was definitely a pleasure.
I'd like to give a huge shout out to everyone for tuning in, especially those who listen all the way to the end to hear this message. Seriously, I appreciate you, and my guests do as well. Giving a quick reminder to subscribe to this show. It's completely free and will allow you to receive notifications when new episodes are released. If you'd like to provide a tip as a gift, you can do so via patreon.com/mikedup. It's spelled MIKED up. Patreon.com/mikedup. You can give as little as $1 per month or as much as you'd like. Every dollar is greatly appreciated and completely unexpected. Appreciate your reviews and your messages coming in on social as well. Keep them coming. Your feedback is valuable and absolutely means the world to me. You can check out more episodes and content at mikeduppodcast.com. We're powered by Social Chameleon. You can also follow me on Instagram. That's where I'm the most active, and it's at Mike DiCioccio, MIKEDICIOCCIO. Thank you so much for your continued support. You guys know what to do. Be great and be grateful.